So you know what? We put out a while ago, I suppose now, but saying, hey, if podcasts were to come back, what would you be interested in? And one of the feedback that we received was, you'd like to hear stories from people who are doing things with their grenadiers. So yes, you also want to hear from manufacturers and third party equipment makers and all that, but you know, finding and talking to people who are out there doing it is one of the things that you people pointed out. And I think this particular story, yes, it's a foreign member doing something, but then it also looks at a broader spectrum, and where we can, as a community, support each other. So, Stu, why don't you kind of fold us into the story?
There's a lot of people that have been following Project Wild Earth for the last 2 years now. And these guys have decided to take it upon themselves to take the Patriot camper trailer and their Grenadier basically on a round the world tour, promoting, what's the right phrase? Promoting environmental causes, whether it's conservation efforts, it's all the good stuff that we all wish we could do, whilst taking the vehicle around the world, raising money for charity. And let's not underestimate the fact that there's 2 young children there as well. Our friends, the Pryors, many of you are familiar with them on the forum. They got to, basically they were about to cross over into the border into China. Episode 18 of their YouTube series covers what we're just going to briefly talk about now.
It's one of those things where the most important thing, and I said this in other aspects of my life, thank God nobody got hurt. Stuff can always be replaced. People can't. So if there's a silver lining to this, that's obviously the big one. The whole family was safe. However, the way things went and how quickly everything happened was, it's scary. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? Like it's something that I would imagine many of us would never think would happen to us, kind of thing, right? So talk us through how it happened.
So the family had stopped just for some breakfast, I believe, and they didn't deploy the entire camper trailer because they weren't going to stay the evening. Just popped open the side, started cooking breakfast, kids playing with dad, mum's at the stove. And the video that we're going to link to now really does say everything. As we can see, the worst happened. The spare fuel that they were carrying somehow leaked and the fumes caught, and the home, because it's not just a trailer, it's where they've been living for the last 2 years, caught fire and is essentially useless right now. The main thing is that there weren't any major injuries. Matt got burnt a little bit, but I believe they're superficial, and he's on the way to mending. But it does highlight, number one, the danger of carrying fuel. Number two, also the humanity of people coming to help. So you had locals that did not know who this family were, what they were doing, and they came as soon as they saw the smoke because it was unusual. And that just goes to show the level of willingness normal people have in their day-to-day lives to help somebody that's in trouble. Fortunately, they managed to get the fire out. The trailer is severely damaged. They have fabulous response from Patriot campers where they've said, hey, we'll send you all the bits to fix this. The problem is they are now in China. The parts have to come from outside of China, and there's a massive import duties on that sort of stuff. Not to be diluted with the fact that pretty much anything else that was in that trailer is now useless because of the smoke damage and all the rest of it. They have a GoFundMe page, and the community, we've taken some of the proceeds from keeping the site running and donated it to Project Wild Earth to keep those guys on the road, because this type of journey is what the Grenadier is all about. I wish I could do it. I'm not able to, but I thoroughly enjoy the tenacity of the people that that are undertaking these journeys.
Yeah. And, one of the things, and I think anyone who's been around here a little bit, it happens with regularity where people will post, they join the forum, and you get a lot of those. I've been poking around for a while, thought I'd join. And then invariably, very quickly, someone will be like, this is a very different community than Facebook. It's a very different community than this forum or that forum. It's not negative. It's not nasty. It's a positive community. And this is an opportunity for us to put that to use, where there's a person who is involved in our community, where, like you look at stuff like this when it comes to charity, I guess is the right word, but I don't have the statistics in front of me. So right now, according to, let's see here, I'm looking at our own website, and according to this, there are 8,600 threads, roughly 228,000 messages, 10,676 members. So that means actual names and emails. Okay. So if you put it in this context, if every single one of us as individuals contributed $2 to their GoFundMe, okay, just $2, which is not even remotely enough for a cup of coffee or tea. But if everyone did that, if the 10,000 of us did that and each gave $2,000, there's $20,000 almost instantly to get them back on their feet. Not because you as an individual put yourself in a compromising situation by giving too much money. You know what I mean? Like, it's $2, which is not a tremendous sum. But when you crowdsource and there's 10,000 people who contribute, all of a sudden that $2 went a long way. And I think it's a very easy way for us to support a family in our community, that is using the vehicle as to its capabilities, certainly. And I think some of us have lived a little vicariously through them. Even if I had the opportunity to do this, I don't know if I have the strength to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I could survive just mentally, emotionally, just being another kind. Like, I wouldn't be good for this. But it's really cool to follow along with people who can. And so it seems like an easy thing to do to toss $1 or $2 into a GoFundMe that helps a family, two wonderful people and two fantastic little kids who are experiencing the world, and we're just sort of victim of an unfortunate situation, an accident.
But after speaking to Matt, they cleared into China. If when you watch the video, and please do, at the moment there's 121,000 views on it. And if each of those people threw $1 in, they'd be in a really good situation to carry on. Speaking to Matt, they now have the long-range fuel tank installed, which effectively doubles the range of the Grenadier. And that should be those guys not having to carry any external fuel supplies.
Yeah. And I mean, that is a criticism of the vehicle, is the size of the fuel tank. I mean, that's been documented pretty much since they were in the hands of the public. 23 gallons and change or whatever that is.
US gallons.
Yeah. It's not a tremendous amount of fuel in with respect to the vehicle. Like, yeah, to put that in a Subaru or my little Fit, yeah, that's ridiculous. But all of my F-150s had 36-gallon tanks. Now, obviously, it's a much bigger vehicle, but that's a lot of fuel. The other thing to point out, and I know I said this, and I think I said it last time we spoke, I've never in my life driven a diesel vehicle. But this is one of those situations where had this happened with diesel fuel instead of gasoline, would the same result have happened? That's a question for you, Stu, because I don't know.
The answer is probably not. The explosive envelope for gasoline, petrol, whatever you want to call it, is fundamentally different from diesel. Gasoline ignites through vapor. They just have to get to a critical temperature when the vapors actually come off. With gasoline, that's well below room temperature.
Which makes sense. Again, the diesel situation in the U.S. is very different than the rest of the world for a number of reasons. But I guess that is, one advantage that we certainly don't have in North America with just about anything. I mean, I guess Jeep kind of had a diesel. I don't know if they still do.
Yeah,
Nope.
they were getting a lot of problems, and they
And they can't,
basically
right?
shuttered it.
Yeah.
I think you can still get them in Europe.
Yes, you can get one at F350, but that's a different situation. It's a different.
There's commercial engines,
Yes.
Cummins or
Yeah.
whoever, Allison engine. From speaking to other people that have gone through journeys like this, the methodology of why they picked a petrol vehicle, gasoline vehicle, is because it's more widely available.
Right.
So when you're in the back of Beyond, you can get petrol, whereas diesel isn't always quite so assured, even though you have the range.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because in my mind it's the other way around. Like, I always thought that that's why adventure vehicles were diesel, because in the middle of nowhere you could get it, and more specifically, again, I'm probably totally wrong, but my perception has always been that whether it was good fresh fuel, bad fuel, diesel's diesel, put it in there, it's going to run. That's how I always thought it was. And maybe that's how it was back in the day before emission stuff. But that was always my sort of notion of why, if you're in the Outback or you're in wherever, you want a diesel vehicle. But I guess that's not really the case temporarily.
I mean, you're getting into some stuff that's a little bit out of my purview, but I'm pretty sure it boils down to the fact of, the modern diesel engines have become so overwhelmingly complex that you're not able just to throw in some old trip oil, which people used to do. I remember as a kid in the 90s, you had to buy diesel, and then all of a sudden diesel went up and people were using cooking oil in their car and essentially blending it themselves, and you could always smell it when it went by. And they were buying old oil from restaurants and stuff, filtering it, cleaning it, however they did it, and it'd go past and it smelled like a chip shop.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world.
It is when they've been cooking the fish in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to make light of the situation of Project Wild Earth, but it's they have the vehicle that they have. They had the fuel constraints that they had, which dictated why they did what they did. I mean, in the video, Matt plainly explains that for the level of redundancy, they split their fuel load between traditional jerry cans and fuel bladders. And in this instance, it was a fuel bladder that something happened to it, and it leaked. It could easily have been a jerry can that leaked. How many do you see that are on the back of a vehicle and you're in a tail end shunt?
Yeah.
That's it. It's the first thing that's going to get hit, which is why you see, Australian members and UK members and everything else going, I can't believe that you just carry fuel like that in America. That's so dangerous.
Yeah. I know it's a different situation, but if you think back to the Land Rover, the Oxford
trip. They had them on the front wings.
They had them on the front bumper, because the lights were inset. So
yeah,
the
one
outside,
on each side, right?
They had one on each side. Jerry cans. The traditional 20-gallon.
Now, was that Oxford and Cambridge or just Oxford?
No, it was Oxford and Cambridge.
It was both.
It was a coming together. They put their differences to the side for the good of man. But like you said, not trying to make light of their situation at all. I was just curious, as someone who's unfamiliar in that respect to diesel vehicles. I wasn't sure of how, because I know that diesel requires such high pressure to get the combustion. So I thought that was maybe the case. But obviously, having been around gasoline my whole life, I know that that's some scary stuff. So our hearts go out to them, certainly. And again, I will reiterate, stuff can be replaced much easier than people. So that's good. And I think as a community, we can play our part to help replace that stuff and help take care of the family.
As you're now listening to this on your phone or on your computer, click on the link below. It's $3.
Yeah. Thank you.